Okay, so welcome Vishon, Vashti, Shana, Dayani, Ivani, Jamira. Nice to have everyone here. Okay, so you can take off your cameras now. Anisha, Naika, Tamaya, Cheyenne, welcome. Okay, so let's get into today's work. So today, just confirming, are you all able to see the screen?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So here we go. So today we are looking at paper 032. And firstly, let's take a look at what paper 032 is about. So paper 032 is the alternative to the SB. So some of you who are students in a secondary school and are writing CSEC right now, you will be doing this paper because you are obviously not doing the SBA for January exams. It is 21% of your mark, just like the SBA is 21% of your mark. It's a 2-hour long paper, and the paper consists of 3 compulsory questions, and the questions are based on 3 texts on a particular topic. So they may give you 3 texts about the topic of pollution, or 3 texts on the topic of crime. So the 3 texts are always linked. So let's go straight into when reading the text. It is very important for this paper, before you even start to look at the questions, you must understand what the 3 texts are based on. Because question 1 and question 3 are fully based on those 3 texts, and about half of question 2. So before you read those texts, you must note, firstly, the issue. What is the issue about? What is the topic about in the text? What is the text talking about? Then the writer's purpose. How does the writer want to make you think or feel or to do after reading this text? And finally, what are the language strategies in each of the texts? So I use the acronym SIP, strategy, issue, and purpose. So when you read those 3 texts later on in the week for your exam, always remember SIP, strategy, issue, and purpose. Strategy, what is the language strategy you're seeing there? Are you seeing examples, statistics, simile, metaphor, personification? Issue, what is the text about? Is it about the environment? Is it about bleaching of skin? Is it about boys in education? Purpose, does the writer want you to think a particular way after reading this, or do a particular thing after reading this? At this point, let me just stop and allow any questions. If you want to type your question, you could do so. If you want, you could actually just unmute yourself. Any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, great. All right, good. So since we are going now, we spoke about the text, let's go into the text now. So let's open our exam script. So this is what the specimen looks like, the specimen that you would find in your syllabus. Those of you who are in secondary school, your syllabus is free to download from CXE. Please get a copy because it gives you a lot of information. For example, it gives you information such as the exam reports. So all the mistakes that students are making in their exams, it's written in the syllabus so that you can avoid those things. So you see here, normal thing, paper 032, it's 2 hours as we said. These are the instructions. The paper consists of 3 questions. You answer in all. You write your answers in the space provided in the booklet. So I know some of you would have already written some of your exams, so you know about the booklet and writing in the booklet with a ballpoint pen, please. And you are advised to take some time to read through the paper and plan your answers. Now we're going to the three texts. So here we have our three texts here. Text 1 is an editorial from a newspaper. Text 2 is a song by India Ari. And text 3 is a poem by Sun-Kissed Gem. Okay, so let's get started with this then. So I want to start by, let us look at reading this. So can I get a volunteer to read this editorial from a newspaper?
Happy to do so.
Thank you, please go ahead.
Discipline is at the crux of the issue. It was triggered weeks ago when two female students wearing natural hair posted their pictures on Facebook, complaining that their principal expressed disapproval of their hairstyles. In an interview with this newspaper, the principal said her only edict, which she indicated clearly to students, was that they be neat and tidy in their school uniforms, and that certain hairstyles were simply not appropriate for classes. We endorse these comments by the principal, whose intention, it appears, is to set standards for the school she leads and the students in her charge. Students need to clearly understand there are rules that govern the regular operation of schools, and those that speak to the deportment of those attending these institutions. President of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association put the issue into perspective when she said that this was not about hair, but discipline and respect for rules. We also agree with her on the point that schools are not just about teaching mathematics and English. Schools help prepare students for life. From schools, students go on to the world of work, and if they find it difficult to follow school rules, how will they fare on the job when there are regulations in place that must be obeyed? While there are natural rights and freedoms which cannot be suppressed, children in school must conform to the standards set. This issue came to the fore again just yesterday when this newspaper revealed that a new dress code was implemented for police officers, banning them from wearing dreadlocks, makeup, extreme hair color, or having visible tattoos. Some police officers are reportedly upset by the new rules outlined in the section of the RBFP policy on general appearance of police officers dated January 15, 2015. We do not believe the issue at hand is simply the wearing of natural hair. The larger point speaks to upholding discipline in society and the need for respect for rules and authority, whether it is in our school or police force. Without these, we would be a lost society.
Okay, thank you very much. So we go back to our acronym, SIP. Strategy, issue, and purpose. So we need to, before we even go into this question, we need to know what is being spoken about, what are the strategies, and what is the purpose. So at this point in time, let's just think about it. So some of you would have received this if you reached out earlier, and you would have been familiar with this paper. Anyone could tell me, first thing, what is the issue here? What is this article talking about? What is this editorial talking about? Anybody, just in a sentence. What is this? What is the topic? Sorry, go ahead, please.
Suppression of freedom of expression.
Suppression of freedom of expression. Now here's what. That answer is like a 50%. We want to reach 100% because we need to be specific. What exactly? I heard something. Go ahead.
Natural hair.
But right. What about natural hair? You can't give me a phrase. That's a 50% again. We want 100. What about natural hair?
It being considered untidy and unkempt.
All right, very good. Give it in a full sentence now.
The suppression of natural hair because it is seen as untidy and unkempt.
Very good. So we know what this issue is about. The concept of hair, and I like how you pointed out that it is about it being viewed as untidy. That will help you in your paper. Good. So we know the issue. Any strategy was used here? Any language strategy, organizational strategy, any literary device you picked up on? See how that's an important question because that's a question in the exam paper. Anyone seeing any?
So there's a comparison between the way hair is kept or the rules put into hair at school and how that translates to you being able to suffice in the work world?
That is actually would not be a strategy. When we talk about strategy, we're talking about language strategies like literary devices, examples, statistics, subheadings. Anybody seeing? Anybody picked up on any? So we have here, we have one here. So let me help you then. From school, students go on to the world of work, and if they find it difficult to follow school rules, how will they fare on the job where there are regulations in place that must be obeyed? Who could tell me what literary device is that? Very good, Kiri. Rhetorical questions. So we see rhetorical questions is used here. We also have quotations from reputable sources or people involved. The president of the Council of National Council of Parent Teacher Associations. So by quoting people, we know what different stakeholders is a word they like to use now. Say about this. So we got two strategies there. Of course, you will have time to go through this in more detail and find out that. So we got the idea, the issue. We got strategies. Now the purpose. What do you think the writer wants us to do? Or how do you think the writer wants us to think after reading this editorial? Anybody?
So that their point was valid and that it should be their way.
Okay. You're going good there, Anicia. So that's like a 50% again. I want the 100. You told me about their point is valid. What is the point?
They want to highlight
Okay,
that
go ahead.
persons need to.
Is it Maya? You're talking? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. They
Uh-huh.
want to highlight that it's not an issue of hair color or race or anything like that. They want to show that it's an issue of discipline and that's how people should view it.
Very good. That's the purpose. And how do we get that? The title gives us that. Is it Anicia? Would you like to add anything to that answer?
No, so that's exactly where I was going with
Very good. So good. So you see how we've done it now? We went and did our SIP strategy, issue, and purpose. And we are going to do that with each of the artifacts, each of the texts that are given to you. For the sake of time, we will not go through all because, we have a limited time here. So let's get back to it then. At this point in time, does anybody have any questions about about reading the passage and what they have to do? Okay, and of course, you could just type your question on the chat or just unmute yourself as some people are doing. So great. So we've reached the point now, we understand the question. We understand what is being spoken about in the three texts. That's our first step. And now we are going straight into the question now. Now it's time to get the marks. So the question 1A. Question 1A asks to outline the main issue addressed in each of the three texts. So question 1A asks you to outline the main issue addressed in each of the 3 texts. How do you get the marks? You're given 1 mark for saying the main issue, and you are given the other mark for giving a supporting detail from the passage. So you can't just say the text 1 or the editorial. So let me just pull that up then. Let me pull up a Word document and show you. So we cannot just say for 1A, the editorial speaks about students having natural hairstyles. That will only give you 1 mark. Is everybody seeing clearly on the Word document?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Right. And also you can, of course, take your screenshots and so on. So the editorial speaks about students having natural hairstyles. Okay. According to our mark scheme, you'll get 1 mark here because you did mention the main issue. You're getting 1. But of course, it's 6 marks. You need to get 2 by 3. So we need now, you need now to actually go now and add. So what we have here, this here is what you call the main issue. We need to add now something else, which is our supporting detail. What piece of information supports this? Let's take a look at it here now. So we have our art editorial. Anybody could give me 1 detail that supports that main idea? You take a look at the passage again. The first line. Very good. The first line gives us evidence about 2 female students posted pictures and the principal and are complaining about the disapproval of the principal. Very good. Excellent. Thank you. So let's put that in our answer now. So we have here the editorial speaks about students having natural hairstyles. Then we'll go, then let's give them the detail now. 2 students complained on social media that their principal disapproved of their hairstyle. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will be our supporting detail. So you're getting 1 mark for the main issue. The editorial speaks about students having natural hairstyles. You're going to get the other mark for the supporting detail. 2 students complained on social media that their principal disapproved of their hairstyle. And you do this now for every question, for each of the 3 texts. Anyone confused about that? Is that clear to people?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Can you just run over again, please?
Run over what in particular?
Exactly where now, see?
Okay then, I hope this is not a repeat. I'm getting more of that anyhow. So okay, so as I was saying, so in question 1A, they ask you to outline the main issue addressed in each of the 3 texts. So each of 3, so we have 3 texts, so we have to have 3 answers. It's worth 6 marks. So every answer you write is worth 2 marks. To get the 2 marks, you need to have 1, the main issue, and that has to be followed up by at least 1 detail or supporting piece of information from the text. You following me so far?
Yes, sir.
Great. Now, When we go to the text now, that we had here, our first one, editorial from a newspaper, we had someone read it before and we had a little discussion about it. We identified the strategies, we identified the issue, we identified the purpose. So what will be our answer? So we know from our discussion that the main issue is that the editorial speaks about students having natural hairstyles. That is it. That is what, actually, in fact, we should not use it with students. That's a bad phrasing. About people having natural, or we could even say natural, or we could use it with unconventional. Anyone could tell me what unconventional means? What does unconventional mean?
Not appropriate.
Okay. Actually, we could use inappropriate, but unconventional means instead of really inappropriate, more as not
Unusual.
unusual. I like that word. Yes, thank you.
Irrelevant.
Unfamiliar. I like the word right.
Not based on
Go ahead.
not based on or confirming to what's generally done or
Yes.
believed.
So what is not normally done? Right. Very good. So we have it there. You're out of the ordinary. Excellent. So it's very you all are good. I'm happy that you're on top of your vocabulary. So the editorial speaks about people having natural or unconventional hairstyles. That's what the issue is about. It speaks a lot about the hairstyles. And what is the supporting detail? How do we know that? 2 students complained on social media that their principal disapproved of their hairstyle. From the very first line, as someone pointed out. Is that clear to you now?
Yes, sir.
Great. So don't forget, you can go ahead and take your screenshots and so on. And this session will be uploaded on YouTube. You will get the details how to get that at the end of the session. Okay, so don't worry about that. And in case you missed anything, focus on understanding and interacting as opposed to writing down, because you can always get the video after. The video most likely will be put up tonight itself. So let's go back now to our exam paper. So we had question 1A, and we dealt with question 1E. We outlined the main issue, addressed, and we know how to get the full 2 marks. Question 1B says, for any one of the text given, so you're choosing any one, assess the appropriateness of that medium for the purpose of communicating the specific issue. Now, this is where many students get 0. But I hope those of you here today will not be in that category. So how do we get the marks? This is with 3 marks. You have to write about the medium. So what is this thing called medium? Some of you may have never come across this term before. So medium refers to the type of writing. So they normally in the exam give you different types of writing for the 3 texts. So we know in this specimen, we got an editorial from a newspaper, we got a poem, and we got a song. In some of the past papers, you would notice that there's a diary entry, there's a cartoon as well. A lot of poems and songs come. So that's what they mean by medium. So they are asking you basically, why is the use of a newspaper article or a magazine article or a poem or a song or a diary or a cartoon or a comic strip, why is that effective in talking about this topic? Why use that as opposed to anything else? So this is where you kind of have to put yourself in the mind of the writer. Why did the writer use this method as opposed to anything else they could have done? So let's take a look at some possible answers. So I have medium and appropriateness. If something is a newspaper article or a magazine article, why would it be appropriate or effective? One of the reasons is that it will be able to reach a wide audience. Because as you know, newspapers are all over the internet and the country. Everyone sells newspapers. Another reason why a newspaper article or a magazine article, can be useful or appropriate in getting a message across, people can read it at their leisure. So you can pick up a newspaper, start reading it on your way to school, put it in your bag. When you have recess, you take it out again and you continue reading. Or better yet, if you have, every newspaper in Trinidad is online. You pull it up online and you read and you continue when you have some time. Another thing is that it is a means of communicating views that are of relevance or importance to members of the community. So you would find the topics people talk about in the newspaper and a magazine are important ones. So talk about serious ones. Things like crime, things like the economy, things like the pandemic, things like school and returning to school, things like bad roads. These are the things you find in a newspaper, so that shows the seriousness. Okay? And it can be referred to repeatedly. It's the same thing as read at your leisure. If you have a newspaper or magazine in your hand, you could go back to it numerous times. It doesn't disappear. So that will be appropriateness. So that is the kind of answer if you get if one of your texts is a newspaper article or magazine article, which actually is the case of our editorial. Now, if you get a cartoon or a poster or any type of graphic, why would a cartoon or comic strip be appropriate or effective? One is that graphics easily communicate a message. And we see it. Do you not find that if you get a poster, you get the information from it quickly, as opposed to getting something in text? Anybody found that in their experience? No one?
Yes, sir. Sometimes you get straight to the point.
Exactly. Right. So that's that's why it's very useful to use anything with visuals and pictures like the comic strip and so on. Another thing is that it captures the issue through exaggerated looks of the characters. So if you ever notice like a comic and somebody's surprised in a comic, don't you see that their eyes are drawn very large, so you know it's surprise? You don't even have to read anything, you know it's surprise. Or if somebody is in pain, you'll see they're screaming and then they hold in the part of the body that their hand that is hurting. Like for example, I know some of you may be very too young. I know about Tom and Jerry.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So imagine Tom and Jerry, how you see it. Tom normally get his hand hit with some anvil or hammer. What he doing? You're seeing his mouth open big. You're seeing him holding a thumb that get huge and throbbing. You see how that's easy to convey the information. Also, people like visual literacy. People like visual things. We are no longer in the time where people prefer to read something in terms of long text. They like things which are graphic. That's why there is now the job of graphic designers. So anything along this line will give you the mark for appropriateness for a cartoon or a poster or a graphic. Now, if you have a poem, I want to point out poem and song is nearly the same answer. Because as everybody here probably realize, the main difference with a poem and a song is really a rhythm and the performance of it. It has a similar structure. Both of them have a chorus or repetition in it. They are written in stanzas or verses. It's nearly the same. And those of you who are doing your SBA for English, you would probably realize that as well when you got your artifacts. So, what is the appropriateness of a song and a poem? These both answers will be interchanged. Firstly, in a poem, you could have a personal viewpoint coming out by the author or the singer. Like sometimes, when someone is singing or writing a poem, you really feel the emotion. You feel the issue, and sometimes you cry for the song, or you feel sad. Anyone has a song that just makes them cry? No one? Okay, well, it seems that you all are rather well put together people. But you have some of your friends in school who will hear a song and start to cry because why? What is being said by that writer, that artist, is actually reaching out to them. Also, in both poems and songs, you're going to have literary devices. So literary devices appeal to the emotions. So by using similes and metaphors and repetition, it makes you feel a particular way. You feel sad, angry, hurt. You feel excited. You feel calm by hearing the literary devices. Right? By the refrain or the chorus, which is basically repetition in a song, the message is just repeated for you. You are always aware of the message. In fact, most songs, the name of the song comes from the chorus. There are many exceptions, but that normally happens. Also, with the rhythm and the rhyme that you would find in songs and poems, it aids in memory. That's why you are able to remember a song and you can't remember half of your other subjects. Because unfortunately, we cannot convert our textbooks into songs. Perhaps you could do that. That's a good project. But the fact is that rhythm and rhyme is easy for you to remember. That's why you are able to repeat a song immediately to us, as opposed to repeat what's in your textbook. And of course, poems and songs can reach a wide audience as well, because of obviously the internet. Most of you are, of course, people like me. When I was younger, we had music on CDs. Those older than me would tell you about, your parents would probably tell you about cassettes and so on. We had CDs. We didn't have music on the internet. You had to buy a CD and burn a CD, and that's why you see so many people selling CDs in Trinidad. But now look at you. When you have a song, you just sharing it over anything that has an internet connection. Let me just stop a minute here. Any questions about this? So this is basically is information for you just to learn off. And we're going to apply it just now. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, Kiri, go ahead. Since it's 3 marks, go ahead. Is it 3 reasons? No. Very good question. It's 3 marks, and it's not for 3 reasons. It is for any one of this reason that is explained. So what you want to do here is take one of the reasons and make it relevant to the question. So, and I commented that just, I'll show you how to phrase it. So it's not just for take any tree, okay? You could actually have 2 or 1. It depends on how you explain, okay? And we are coming to give a little example just now. Now, another thing you have is diary and speech. So, a year, CSEC brought a diary. Now, how is a diary an effective thing? Now, a diary is easy to read and follow. Because why? A diary is dated, so you can see how things progress. A diary also is normally kept by young persons, so it kind of geared towards young people. Or when people write diaries is when they are younger. I know now people here don't really write diaries. Anyone here does diaries still? I know people are now using TikTok as
Sometimes.
a means of. Okay, right. So some people are using things like TikTok and vlogs as a form of diary. In fact, that's what it is. Because there's a time limit on what you could upload, it is like a small diary. You're just choosing what to put up instead. Regarding a diary again, you can have a conversational tone, because when you write to the diary is that you're speaking to the diary. So it makes it easy to follow. And then a speech. We have seen speeches come as well in the exam. Now, why is a speech effective? A speech is effective because one is that the strategies calls for a response from the audience, like conversational tone. So if you see some of those political speeches, anybody here from Barbados, you have an election this year, this month, sorry, so you may see this more. Trinidad, we haven't had one in a while. You would see a speaker going up and say, what do you think about this? And people shouted yes or no. That's how a speech works. The language strategies allow for the audience to interact with the speaker. And also the presentation of the speaker has more impact than an article. For example, when a speaker shouts, or when a speaker lowers his voice, or when a speaker brings props on a stage, sometimes you see, like, especially for those political rallies, it's like a whole show with song and dance and fireworks on the stage. Those things impact more than an article. And of course, the purpose of the speaker in the speech is to move people to action. They don't want you to leave saying, well, I'm still not convinced. No, they want you to leave and say, yes, you are correct. I fully support you. So, this is a brief run over of the medium and the appropriateness and effectiveness that could be used here. So we have newspaper article or magazine article, a cartoon or poster or a picture or graphic. Then we have, of course, a poem and a song. And then we have a diary or a speech. Let us now go back to the question and let's try to draft out an answer. So we're back to our question now. Our paper. Let's take a look now. So how do we answer that question? So let's go back to the question. For any one of the texts, so we're going to use text 1, which we read as a class. What is the appropriateness of that medium? First thing, what is the medium? What is the medium of this text 1? Anybody can tell me? A newspaper. Yes.
A newspaper.
Correct, yes. So, why is a newspaper effective in talking about this topic? So let's start it off, the answer. So a newspaper, or we can say a newspaper editorial, since that's what it is effective in discussing the topic because, now why is using a newspaper editorial effective? Anybody can tell me? I'm seeing, so good. Because it reaches a wider population. Very good. But we can't just write that. This is where you get your 3 marks. How does it reach a wider population? We have to add and explain ourselves. So, a newspaper editorial is effective in discussing the topic because it reaches a wider population. It can be printed and distributed around the country Anybody want to add something else that shows how it reaches a wider population? There's something that happens new.
So could you also
go ahead.
Sorry, could you also make mention of the fact that it can be uploaded
That
and
is
viewed
correct.
by out of anyone
Yes.
out of the country?
That is correct. And Leon actually just said that. It can also be placed online for an international audience. And that will give you the mark, because you've explained clearly why we're using this and why this will reach a wide population. Now, Vasudev gave me another answer as well. And I want to share that with you, because this is actually one that is in addition to what we're saying here. So that's one answer. Let me just start the other answer here, which is a nice answer. He said that the use of a newspaper is appropriate since it can be viewed by its readership, and its conversational tone allows it to be effectively convey the seriousness of the issue. Now, I want to point out something. So we have to fix this a little bit, right? So this is good, but you bring up some nice issues here. So the use of the newspaper is appropriate since it can be viewed by its readership, right? Now, how is it viewed? This is where you see how you gain your 3 marks. How is it viewed? It can be viewed by its readership as a hard copy, which is something printed, and online. That's the thing, how to give you the marks. Then, now to say its conversational tone allows it to effectively convey the seriousness. Now, we have to remember, this is not really, this is, yeah, we have this conversation here with we also agree and we endorse. So, okay, let's go with that one. But just remember, don't get carried away and just say everything is conversational tone. So, its conversational tone allows it to effect. So basically, it is not about the seriousness. It's conversational tone, which is the use of words like we and I and us and our. That's a hint for conversational tone. Its conversational tone allows it to what's the phrase we could use? Right. To reach the audience. Reach the audience and have a direct connection. Because what happens is that when you have these things like we and I and us, you feel as if the writer talking to you. Right? And regarding the seriousness of the issue, right? So you can add the topic being discussed in a widely read newspaper shows the seriousness. Now, here's what, right? This answer here, you for sure will get 3 marks here. This is a lot of information and all is correct. I just took his answer and showed you how to develop it. And of course, the first one is how you could also do it. So this first one really just went from the angle of the wider population. But Vasudev's answer went from the issue of 1, being in both hard copy and online, 2, its tone, and then about the seriousness of the issue being in a newspaper. And that's all you have to put to get that 3 marks. Okay? So I know some of you may have never heard this term like medium and appropriateness and thing before. So let me allow any questions at this point in time before we move on to 1C. Okay, go ahead.
So,
Yes.
therefore, right, the 3 texts in the poem, the 3 texts was a poem, a song, and the newspaper, right?
That's correct.
So we could have used, right, so if we use the song, if we use like the song for the media and the appropriateness, the answer would be
different
in respect to the song.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
So obviously a song
Okay.
is not printed and distributed. So you would be talking about the
No,
rhyme and
yeah.
the
So you'll be
rhythm.
a different.
Yes. You'll be
Mm-hmm.
mentioning things like a song can be distributed via online as well. You'll also talk about how the literary devices in the song create an appeal to the reader. It can be easily
Right.
memorized
Okay.
because of the rhythm. That will be an answer for that.
Okay.
And of course, don't worry, those points are in the presentation that you could obviously just take a screenshot of. So see, we have here notes about the newspaper article and magazine. We have here about the poem and the song. So things such as the song is also appealing, right? The rhyme and the rhythm aids in memory. The chorus or the refrain is repetition that makes you remember. So all of those are valid points that can be discussed. And then of course we have diary and speech. Any other questions about question 1B before we go to 1C? Okay then. Good. Let's go now to 1C. 1C says, for any two of the text given, choose one language technique used in each and explain its effectiveness. So again, for any two of the text given, choose one language technique used in each and explain its effectiveness. Now, what happens here is that many students will get the mark for the name in the technique. But you see, when it comes to that 2 mark for 2 sentences about the effectiveness, that's where we have problems. And also, we have noticed some students are unable to identify techniques. Some of you do not know what a simile is, or a metaphor, or allusion, or alliteration, or assonance. So if you are weak in that, I strongly suggest before the exam, you do a very serious review of the language techniques and the literary devices. You need to do that, or else you're going to get a lot of problems for 1C, which is 6 marks. 3 marks for one text and 3 marks for the other text. Okay? So, let's give it a try now. So, of course, here, let's talk about some of the language techniques that we could have. One language technique is using statistics or authoritative sources. So that's when you are quoting someone who is knowledgeable and involved in this matter. And we have in our first text here the president of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations. That's a person that's involved in education. So we have that as an example. Following up now, you have conversational tone. Now, so we have, of course, we saw that in that text as well. The conversational tone. So what does the authoritative sources and statistics do? It makes the information credible because you are quoting someone. You are not just guessing. Someone who knows about the problem is speaking about it. It shows that it is serious because why? People are talking about it. It's not just the writer coming up with it. It's something that a lot of people are speaking about. Another thing about effectiveness is that by quoting people, we see what they think about the matter. We know their actual thoughts. Conversational tone now. Conversational tone that appeals to you. It makes you feel part of the text. It has a personal impact. You think when they say, don't you think so? You feel as if they're speaking to you. We have headlines and subheadings. So sometimes a headline tells you what is the information that you are going to learn about. It grabs your attention. So sometimes you see a headline talking about, fatal car crash on the highway, and you're thinking, oh, wait, that you know someone who on the highway often, and you're checking to see if it's you. You see a house caught fire in your community, so of course you want to see who house is that. Those things, it grabs your attention. It makes the information digestible, because a headline, like in your textbooks, it tells you what is going to be spoken about. So if you open like your biology textbook, it will have subheadings on the topic, so you know when you are reading that part of the text what is the information that is going to be spoken about, so you know what to pay attention for. And if it does not line up, something is wrong. So other techniques, sometimes people quote a proverb or a song or a popular person. Again, it shows how serious and important it is, because other people doing about it. It also provides a reference. So for example, if you quote a dancehall artist, many young people listen to dancehall. So that means that it's most likely a young person who reading this might be familiar with that line and know fully what the line means. In fact, that young person may even know half of the song, because as we know, songs are effective because they are able to be listened to, and the rhyme and the rhythm just make you remember. Then we have visual, so we have images. So sometimes you find imagery, and by imagery we're talking about visual imagery here. What you see. So it is appealing. It could also be entertaining. It could also highlight. It could highlight an issue. For example, as I used in the example, when you see those cartoons where someone is surprised, their eyes are large, or when they are shouting, their mouth is big, or if they're in pain, they are holding a part of their body and it is normally colored a different color, and they are screaming. So it is appealing. It is clearly giving a message. Because you can't really watch someone who draw a cartoon or a comic with a character eyes open and their mouth is wide open, and you can say, well, the person's sad. No, that could never be. The person is shocked. The person is surprised. That is the idea you're getting. Then, of course, sometimes you have direct speech expressed in Creole. So they use the Creole or dialect. Now, why would we use Creole and dialect in something? The fact is, we in the Caribbean, we speak Creole or dialect. So if you use it, you are going to obviously reach out to your audience, because the people will understand what you mean. Right? Anybody here from Jamaica, perchance? Nobody? Okay, so let me give you an example how dialect is very important. So a time when I was marking English B, this is way back when we had physical mark. We used to come together as a group. So a child in Jamaica wrote a very, very interesting quotation, which was, if you walk good, your nose affy bleed. If you walk good, your nose affy bleed. Now, I'm being from Trinidad, had some difficulty understanding what that meant. But what it meant is, if you want good, your nose have to bleed. And what it was showing is that anything that you want, you have to work hard. And not just work hard and sacrifice, because your nose bleeding is a sign of overworking yourself. Now, I did not understand that until I got a colleague to explain. But guess what? When that child wrote that, in the context of that essay, it was a beautiful point. A very high scoring essay, because that child utilize the Creole to effectively convey a point. And that's how it is used. Because some of us, if we hear the Creoles from our country, Trinidad or Barbados or Jamaica, Guyana, etc., and we hear it in anything, we understand what it means because there's only one way to express that. Just like we have our sayings in Trinidad. Anybody ever hear play dead to catch cobra alive? Anybody ever hear your parents tell you about that one?
Yes.
What does it mean, Janelle?
Well, I would say that it means, you're playing like something is not just to see who will come about, I believe that's what it means.
Right, to
And
fake, yes. So
yeah,
you pretend then you don't know. So people will expose themselves. Now notice how difficult you found to say that in standard English. But when you
yeah,
say, so if I tell you play dead to catch cobra alive, everybody,
you would
yeah,
then catch on if you're
exactly.
a Trinidadian. But like if it is, you know how to say it normally, like how other people would say it, it would be hard to
Right.
explain to other
And,
people.
and that is the effectiveness of using Creole in literature and in songs and poems and writing. It has a meaning that you really have to be part of that community to know. Another thing that you could find is contrast. Now, contrast is when you highlight differences, right? So, for example, like in our editorial, we found that some people were supporting the issue of having your hair in any style that you desire versus others saying no, it is an issue of discipline and work and protocol. So we saw contrasting ideas. So in that way we can get both sides of something. Rhyme, like in songs and poems, it holds your attention. It makes it memorable. That's why that's why they teach you nursery rhymes when you are small, so that you will remember those things. That's why your teachers when you were younger. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't do it now, so we could probably, hopefully, we'll work on that as teachers. We don't do that now. So you're just seeing text in front of you. You get a handout, you get a page in a textbook, but lyrics do help you with learning. Some students actually do that. So for example, I don't know if they still do this in school. When I was in Form 3, we had to learn off the first 20 elements of the periodic table, and we had to make a song for it. Are teachers still doing that? Anybody teachers doing that?
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
Oh, so yes. Okay, so some people, yes. So it seems that little trick from when I was in secondary school still being used, and it's effective. All right. So those of you who say no, you could probably try that when you're studying. Learn off the periodic table, the first 20 elements, and make a song with it, and you remember it. And that's the benefit of rhyme. Now, narrative technique. Right? So narrative techniques, it shows the resolution of a conflict. It shows how a character struggles. Now, to be honest, you're going to hardly find this really, unless it is an excerpt from a short story where we see a character. So, if you see a character, with narrative technique, you will speak about things such as what does the character see? What is told about the character and what information that gives to you. In addition to that, we have rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions, as you know, are questions where the answer is implied. So it causes you really to think. If I ask you here, like, okay, like your parents tell you, like, you want me to beat you. How much parents ever tell them that? Like, you want me to beat you? Anybody parents tell them that?
Yes, sir.
Right. Do they expect you to say no or yes? Obviously, they don't expect you to say an answer. But what they are doing by saying that, like, you want me to beat you, is that they want you to know that you are on thin ice, that you are going to be punished if you continue what you're doing. That's a rhetorical question, makes you think. So you have to stop and think. Hey, I really want to go down this road. I really want to get blank from going to the mall. I really want to get grounded. I really want to give up my phone for a week or whatever. Sarcasm. Sarcasm is appeals to humor. So sarcasm shows, in other words, the foolishness of something. It shows the silliness of people. It highlights how people do things which are nonsensical. Repetition, of course, we know by repeating something, you remember it. Short sentences. Now, how short sentences work? Short sentences highlight information, whereas long sentences explain. Short paragraphs highlight information. It brings a point forward for you to know the point, whereas longer paragraphs explain things. And then, of course, our other techniques I expect you to know about: simile, metaphor, personification, allusion, alliteration, all of these things. Now, we've gone through several, right? So we have these. We have references, visuals, direct speech. We have contrast, rhyme, narrative techniques. We have rhetorical questions, sarcasm, repetition, short sentences. We have all of these here: simile, metaphor, personification, allusion, alliteration. This is not the end. There are so many more. I can never finish talk about this. I am just giving you a little taste of the way I want you to be thinking when you're writing your exam. Let's go to the question paper now. We had, according to the question, let's go back to the question and just remind ourselves what we have to do. For any two of the texts, we're going to talk about two texts. Choose one language technique used in each and explain its effectiveness. So we're going to go with two texts. So we're going to talk about our first text now, which is our editorial. So anybody want to speak? Which language technique you want to talk about for the editorial from a newspaper? Your choice. We came across some. Citation or rhetorical question. Okay, so well, the citation refers to the quoting of sources. Okay, I see more people going rhetorical questions. So here's what you're doing, right? For that one, which is 1C now, let me show you how it is in the exam paper itself. So we have our exam paper here. Notice what they're doing for 1C. They are giving you, okay, well, the actual past paper, not the specimen. They have you writing the text name, then the technique, and then explain the effectiveness. So here's how you do it, right? First thing is the text. What is our text? Our text is text 1, which is editorial from a newspaper. Text 1, editorial from a newspaper. So you can write text 1 only, but you can just write text 1, editorial from newspaper. 2, language strategy. What is the strategy we're going to talk about? We are going to talk about rhetorical question. Now we're going to talk about the effectiveness. Now the effectiveness, as we said, we need to have at least 2 sentences talking about the effectiveness of that rhetorical question. Now the first thing I would like you to do is start with an example. So let's go. Start with an example. So we have here our example. It's a pretty long one, but of course, you have space in your paper to write it. So we have here our example. So you don't start off correct, that you are showing the markers that you know what is an example of rhetorical question. So you give the example and you say, is a rhetorical question. That's the first thing you do it. So let's put it in a different color. So the first thing we do is that we put our example. So you're gonna get a mark there for showing that you are aware and you know what a rhetorical question is, you know what a simile is, you know what repetition is, etc. Make sure put your example. Then we have to explain now. We gotta go and explain. So we are going to explain what does this rhetorical question make you think about? What they really talking about here? So I have the rhetorical questions. From school, students go on to the world of work, and if they find it difficult to follow school rules, how will they fare on the job when there are regulations in place that must be obeyed? So tell me, anybody can think about some things to say about the effectiveness of this? How is this rhetorical question effective in bringing across the writer's idea or point or issue? Take a couple of minutes, take a look at it. Anybody can go ahead and type something or say something.
So the decisions that they make as a student can affect them in the work life.
All right, hold up, ready. Let me start up with that one. Very good point. So it points out that decisions made as students affect the adult. Affect you as an adult. Affect you as an adult. Okay, good. Go ahead. So you gotta talk about it now. So okay, I've seen somebody giving us some answers as well. Very good. I like this. So it allows the reader to question the effects of not following school rules such as dress codes on the life out of school. Very good. It makes the reader think about the consequences of not adhering to dress codes. You see how we went and we spoke about what is this asking us, what is making us think about? So let's go through it again. Watch how easy this is to get your marks. So 1, you're getting a mark for stating is a rhetorical question. So make sure you need to know what it is. 2, effectiveness. This is 2 marks. So from school, students go on to the world of work, and if they find it difficult to follow school rules, how will they fare on the job when there are regulations in place that must be obeyed? Is a rhetorical question. So you give me example. It points out that decisions made as students affect you as an adult. It allows the reader to question the effects of not following rules such as dress codes on life out of school. It makes the reader think about the consequences of not adhering to dress codes. And that's the effectiveness. You see how we understand what the writer want we to think about? Everybody understand how that would get the full 2 marks there? Right. Any questions about that? And we're going to do a next one because I know this is a difficult thing for some people. Okay? All right, so we'll do our next one, and then we will actually take a little break. So we go into the next one now. So we have a next text here. All right, let me just take off all these things here. Right. So we take off text, language strategy, and effectiveness. Let's go and look at the next at the next text that they give us. All right, so let's move to the next one, and let's see what we can talk about here. I need a volunteer to read. Anybody want to volunteer? I can't start calling people. Just want to point that out before. Okay, Leon, thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Text 2, song by India Ari. I am not my hair. Little girl with the press and curl. Age 8, I got a jerry curl. 13, I got a relaxer. I was a source of so much laughter. At 15, when it all broke off, 18 and went all natural, February 2002. I went and did what I had to do because it was time to change my life, to become the woman that I am inside. 97, dreadlock all gone. I looked in the mirror for the first time and saw that here, I am not my hair, I am not the skin. I am not your expectations, no. I am not my hair, I am not the skin. I am a soul that lives within. What she do to her hair, I don't know, it look crazy. I like it, I might do that. I wouldn't go that far. I know, ha 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 ha. Good hair means curls and wave. Bad hair means you look like a slave. At the turn of the century, it's time for us to redefine who we be. You can shave it off like an South African beauty, or get it in on lock like Bob Marley. You can rock it straight like Oprah Winfrey. If it's not what's on your head, then it's what's underneath and they say here.
Thank you very much, Leon. So remember, people, we use SIP, strategy, issue, purpose. Now we're focusing on strategy. Anyone found a language strategy here? What language strategy stuck out to you?
The repetition.
Very good. So let us go back to our Word document. So first thing, we look at text 2, and you are using the correct. So our text is text 2, and the strategy is repetition. Good. So we need to find our example of it now. What is repeated? Anybody?
I am not my hair.
Very good. So I'm seeing that we have a little disagreement here with some people. Some saying I am not. But here's what something, eh? What is really being repeated is I am not my hair, I am not my skin. Then we have here, I am not my hair, I am not this skin. So I'm right. So we have that is being repeated. Then we have I am not as well. You can see I am not, because we have a whole line here. So we have two kinds of repetition going on. One type is, I am not my hair, I am not the skin. I am not my hair, I am not the skin. But then we have another type of repetition, I am not. I am not my hair, I am not the skin, I am not your expectations, no, no, I am not my hair, I am not the skin, I am a soul that lives within. And of course, yes, you have hair. Now, I like that because you figured out there are more than one. Whenever you find more than one examples, work smart, not hard. What do you think will be the easiest repetition for you to discuss?
I am not. I am.
I am not.
I am not.
Yes, I would agree with you. That's easy to talk about. I am not is a very easy repetition to talk about. Very good. So let's deal with that. So we're going to talk about, if the first thing, let us identify. So I am not is repeated, and we can say where it's repeated because you are smart children. So stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3. So you could impress us a bit. I am not. Don't just say I am not is repeated. I am not is repeated in stanza 3. So good. Notice here I have my example. Now I'm going to talk about this example. I'll have to give 2 sentences about it. What is the purpose of I am not? Why repeat that phrase? So let me pull back up the poem for you. So yeah, here should be good. Take a minute or two. Tell me, what would you say? Or you can type your answer, that'll be great.
So
Yes, go ahead, please. Okay, Anicia, I'm hardly hearing you, so all right. Whenever you get a chance again, go back or if you want, you can just type in your answer. You're kind of breaking up a bit. You see how everybody was quick to find the repetition. Now the second part now. Emphasize on what she isn't very good. But you see, Aria and Yahya, that's like a 50% answer. I want the 100%. You have to make a complete sentence. Well, what is she isn't? What do they not want to be like? Come on, think. You're on the correct path. You're 50%. We want the 100%. Go ahead. Try it again. Explain. All right, somebody.
Not she here and
Uh-huh.
she not wanted to be like her hair and skin.
But what does that mean? And I'm not getting the full. Aha. So.
She's not herself.
Sorry, what's that, Nicholas?
She is not herself.
She's not herself? Nah, not really.
So could she be emphasizing her defiance to expectations, general expectations?
True. But notice, let's look back at this again. I'm seeing pieces of it in the comments. So we want to put those pieces together. Everybody, again, we at different stages, 50%, 25, 75. We want to be the 100. I am not my hair. I am not this skin. I am not your expectations. No, no. I am not my hair. I am not the skin. I am a soul that lives within. That's an important point. That's the important. Because we change from I am not to I am. What is she telling us that she wants to be known for? Very good. Kiara have a very good start here. So Kiara has a nice start. Let's start off with that. Is that, so we could just say it shows that that the physical features of the, what's the word we use to refer to the person speaking in a poem? What's the term for that? It shows that the physical
Poet.
features. Nah, not the poet. The poet writes. The person speaking in the poem is
Persona.
excellent. So it shows that the physical features of the persona should not matter, but what is inside. So what is inside? Very good. Inside them. So you see how we have it there? I like what Anisha said. It emphasizes what she wants to be recognized for. It emphasizes, oops, what went on there? It emphasizes what she wants to be recognized for. Now hear what Anisha, which is what? So let me help you with that. Which is what? Come on. It emphasizes what she wants to be, which is what? Anybody?
Since she is inside?
Yes. Or rather her personality. Right? So you see, we all were getting there. So let's see how we would put this answer now. So text 2, song by India Ari. Language strategy, repetition. So you get your mark there, you clearly see the repetition. I am not is repeated in stanza 3. That is giving me an example. Very good. Now let's look at the effectiveness. I want 2 sentences to speak about that. It emphasizes, right? Emphasizes on what, sorry, it shows that the physical features of the persona should not matter, but what is inside them. It emphasizes on what she wants to be recognized, which is her personality and not her appearance. And that would make it better. So, ladies and gentlemen, you think you're able to tackle the 1C, identify a strategy, talk about the effectiveness? Any questions about 1C before we take a little break?
I believe you will lose mark on the effectiveness explanation.
Nah, that's good. Because remember, you see the example, you're getting for that as well. So it's 2 marks only. So all of this here for 2 marks, you'll get the 2 marks.
Okay.
Right? That's why I told you to start off with the example. Because that kind of leads it into the first mark, and all you have to do is get the other mark.
So therefore, the example always in the poem, or the example always in the poem or the text?
Yes, the example has to be from the text. Very good point. Thank you for pointing that out, because I now realize people do that. So somebody might say a strategy is a metaphor, and they make up a metaphor and they give us. Yes, thank you so much for mentioning that. Your example must be from your text. That's how you get any marks. It sounds kind of weird that somebody will do that, but you will be surprised many of the candidates do that. So make sure your example is from the text. So you're getting 1 for the strategy and then 2 marks for your example and your explanation. And it's not hard to get that 2 marks there once you always explain yourself properly, complete sentences, link it back to what the writer is talking about. Any questions before we take a little break? No? Okay then. So here's what. Let's now, right. So what I would like us to do before we take a little break, I have a little feedback form on the session that I'm putting up for everybody. If you can get some time during the break to fill it out. I know sometimes at the end of the class, people just want to go and take a sleep. So if you can fill that out for me, let us take a 10-minute break and resume at 8:05 Trinidad time, where we'll do question 2 and question 3. Is that okay with everybody?
So,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So remember, take a step away from your computer, take a little stretch and come back, and we'll continue with question 2 and question 3. So I'll see everyone at 8:05, which is 10 minutes time. Okay, see you in 10. Good evening again, everyone. Is everybody back and ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right, so let us continue. We've dealt with question one. Any questions about question one on the paper before we continue? Okay, no problem. Of course, remember as usual, you can put your questions on the chat or just ask them. So let's go straight into question two now. So moving along in question two. Question two, on the specimen, it has a question here, which has been changed. So it could be this question or it could be the other one. So here they say state 3 features that distinguish an oral presentation from a written presentation. So that's one question they brought. Sometimes they have changed it. So we look at the both options that could happen for 2E. So let's look at the one that was changed to first. So explain three other factors which a speaker must consider when making an oral presentation. So they are asking you to put yourself in the position if you were giving an oral presentation. What would you consider when making it? Now, when they mean a factor, they mean a factor that is related to the delivery of the presentation, not about the content. Now, some of you would be are students at secondary school. So you may have done oral presentations for your SBA. You may have had to do that or oral presentations for other subjects. So what that question is asking you, it is asking you, what factor must you consider when delivering a presentation? We're not talking about the content. We are talking about the delivery. Now, what are some of these factors? Number one, your composition of your audience. So you need to know the interest or the educational level or the age of your audience. That is one factor. So obviously, if you are speaking to your fellow Form 5 students or fellow adults, you will speak to them differently as opposed to when you are speaking to someone in Form 1, who, if you have to present something to them. Then you have elements of voice. So your voice projection, your articulation, your enunciation, that is a factor. Because why? If you are monotone, speaking at one level, you'll bore the audience. Also, if you are not able to say the words clearly, you'll be misunderstood. And you don't want your audience to misunderstand you. Because remember, they are hearing you. Only what they hear is what they go back with. It's not as if you have a written document to give them so they can read it. Eye contact, easy one. So maintaining eye contacts keep your audience interested. It causes a connection. So these are just three factors. There are more. Time. Time is important. So you must consider the time and stay within the time, or your audience will become restless. So if you are told that your presentation must be 5 minutes and you go to 10 minutes, people start to lose interest. Like, some of us teachers, we do that a lot. We are teaching in the class and then we bell ring and we continue teaching. So your mind nowhere near our lesson. Your mind about what you're going to buy in the cafeteria for recess. That's a problem. Then poise. Poise is how you stand and present yourself. So if you are leaning on the podium or leaning against a wall, your audience doesn't feel as if you are serious and know what you're saying. Your audience believes that you're just there to line with us. You're not really somebody who really know about the topic. But if you come and you stand up in a erect position, you stand up straight, you don't slouch, you don't look down in your notes all the time, people believe you know what you're talking about. And the other factor would be nervousness. Now, everybody gets nervous when presenting. But what you have to do is not show nervousness, or else the audience will not have confidence in you. So, by only looking into your paper, or wringing your hands, or sweating, or looking around, make sure to avoid those things, and you will have no problem. So basically, all you have to do for this question is any of the factors I just mentioned, you name them, 3, and then 1 mark explaining them. So the explanation is basically right here. 1 mark for the factor, 1 mark for the explanation. We have 6 here. You're choosing any 3 if the question comes like that. Everybody clear on that?
Yes, sir.
Right. And I don't need to go to the Word document because the answer basically here that you can just screenshot. Then let's go to the other option. What if they ask features that distinguish an oral presentation from a written presentation? So how is an oral presentation different from a written one? Now you can't go and say, well, one is in writing and one is being said. No. Remember, you must always phrase your answer. In a written presentation, such and such is done, while in an oral presentation, such and such is done. So you must always compare and contrast. Don't just say, in a written presentation this happened, in an oral presentation this happens. No. We want to hear both sides. So for example, right, in an oral presentation, the speaker can gauge the audience reaction. So you could tell if the audience paying attention and adjust the message. But in a written presentation, you cannot see your audience. Another one, in an oral presentation, the audience could interact and ask a question. In a written presentation, the audience cannot do that. And if they do that, it will take a long time for you to respond to them. Another one, your voice can be used to create a desired effect. So your voice can be raised or lowered, or you could speak quickly or slowly depending on your need. In a written presentation, you cannot do that. Another thing, in a written presentation, the layout helps with understanding. So, in a written presentation, you could go and put a visual aid. You could put a chart, a statistic. But in an oral presentation, it doesn't have the same effect because the reader doesn't see it in front of them. Another thing, in a written presentation, the audience can go back and forward in the document. An oral presentation, that cannot happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, if they bring this aspect of the features to distinguish between an oral presentation and a written one, you know what to do. Always remember, you have to always compare and contrast. So if you say something about a written presentation, you have to see how the oral presentation does not allow that. If you say something happens in an oral presentation, you must see how the written presentation does not allow that. And that will allow you to get the 2 marks each. So just a reminder, when we are speaking about the factors to consider in making an oral presentation, you're getting 1 mark for the factor and 1 mark for the explanation. Right? 1 mark for the factor, 1 mark for the explanation. If you are speaking about the comparison between written and oral, you must always compare written and oral. So that will everyone will be 2 marks each. 1 for the written part and then the oral part. How it is different.
This question too, right? With the oral and the present, is 3 I have to give or 1?
It's 3. The question says 3.
3.
Yes.
3, okay.
Yes.
No, this question here.
Yes.
Feature.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
3. I said the stage 3 features.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Right, no problem. Somebody else is asking a question.
So they can ask for factors in a written presentation.
What do you mean by factors in a written like factors to consider in a written presentation?
Yes, sir.
They could. Which would basically just be the answers we just said. Okay. However, I just want to point out that has those of you who would have been looking at the past papers would realize that the question type don't really change. It's just the text that has changed. Okay, so we had 1 question change in here, which is from the specimen, which is this one, and they changed that to the factors for our oral presentation. And if case they ask for factors for a written presentation, it's the same thing we're going to talk about that we just spoke with the difference. So what are some factors to consider in a written presentation? Well, obviously 1 will be your the language strategies you use. Right? So if you go back to your question about the strategies, that will be right. Actually, Kiri, this is the only question that has had a change. All the other questions have remained consistent in since 2018. So only 2A has had a change. So that's the only change it have. Everything else has remained the same. All right. Or regarding the questions, well, I could probably, of course, I'll share this document again. So what I will do probably, I have a Facebook page, and I could just probably put it on a drive and post it. Okay. So I could probably just post this so everybody could get to see it. All right. That might be the best case scenario, because I know some people may want to review it still. Okay. All right. So let's take a move on to our question 2B. Question 2B. So we dealt with 2A. So 2B asks, you have been asked to make an oral presentation on the main subject or issue of the text. List 3 points you will discuss in the oral presentation. Now, this is the easiest 3 marks you will ever get. All you are doing is stating any 3 points based on the issue that you could discuss in an oral presentation. Now, first thing, you need to make sure and use complete sentences. Do not be repetitive. Do not say the same thing in more than one way. And make sure your point is related to the theme discussed in the 3 texts. So let's go now to, that's 2B, sorry. So the question is, you have to make a presentation on the theme or the topic. So what are three things related to the theme that you will speak about? Anybody? So first thing, what is our theme or topic based on those pieces? Huh?
Here.
Here in particular or physical appearance? Good. But here in
Physical
particular.
appearance. Yeah.
Right. So what is one thing that you would speak about in a complete sentence if you have to do a presentation about this issue? Always remember, the hint is this. Try to remember what was the issue spoken about each text, and you will get your answers from it. So in text one, what was text one talking about? Right.
Natural hair being inappropriate for
Good.
certain.
So very good. So we have here, person should not be judged on their hair or physical appearance. That is one thing that we can talk about. Another thing I'm seeing which is correct. What about the part about rules and so on? Did they talk about that as well? What about rules that they talk about?
To wear here.
Sorry? What's that? Didn't they make a point about rules and the workplace? Yes, good. What happened to about the
So
workplace?
rules.
So
if you can't abide by rules as a student, it will affect.
You're going good. I want to hear the rest. All right, I think I know where you're going with it. Let me help you out here. So, right. So, rules for students train them for the world of work. That is another issue that we spoke about. So that's another topic. So we have 2 marks there. What else did they speak about? Let's think about the poem now. What was another issue that they brought up in the poem? What about the personality? No one would answers, people. That's not even 50, that's 25%. I need the 100% answers. Your hair does not define your soul. Now, if I say your hair does not define your soul, that's kind of very close to person should not be judged.
Meant to be meant to say your physical appearance.
But we don't speak about physical appearance. So person should not be judged on their hair or physical appearance. Rules of students train them for the world at work. Let's take a look again at our text. Anything again we can get from the one on here? Remember, all this question is asking you, your physical appearance does not define your personality. You are correct. However, that is just like saying person should not be judged based on their hair or physical appearance. That's a good one. Personality is the essence of individuality. Aha. Very good one. But there is the issue of, let's go to this little girl with the press and curl. Age 8, I got a Jerry curl. 13, I got a relaxer. I was a source of so much laughter. At 15, when it all broke off. 18 and went all natural. February 2002. I went and did what I had to do because it was time to change my life, to become the woman I am inside. 1970, dreadlock all gone. I looked in the mirror for the first time and saw that, hey, there's something about here as well, which kind of like a warning about something people do. Anybody can pick up on it? But today, if you're close, it's not about the that actually okay, good. Actually, Kiri is correct. Curly hair not being accepted. Actually, we could just say, but it's not curly hair, but you could say
Natural hair.
yes. Natural hair is not usually accepted in society. And that's what we have there. But I want there's another part there I want to bring up. This stanza, sorry. A little girl with the press and curl, age 8, I got a jerry curl, 13, I got a relaxer. It was a source of so much laughter. At 15, when it all broke off. What happened with her hair? There's something people do with their hair that will cause the situation. Gabriella, you are correct as
So
well.
when too much chemical.
Good. Continue. You're going good too. So,
when plenty chemical.
So the use of chemicals damages your hair, right? So use of chemicals, example, relaxers. So that is something that is spoken about. That's something you can talk about. So notice we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different, right? So relaxers and perms, jerry curl, as was mentioned here. Press and curl, jerry curl, I got a relaxer, it all broke off. So that is another thing. So if you have to take 3 points to speak about related to this, one will be persons should not be judged based on their hair physical appearance. Rules for students train them for the world of work. Natural hair is not usually accepted by society. People use their hair to express themselves. Use of chemicals, example, relaxers, damages your hair. Very good. So that's the thing. Notice any tree will give you the 3 marks. All you need to do is have a complete sentence, do not be repetitive, and make sure your point is related to the theme discussed in the 3 texts. So you see how we got all those answers based on the text. We learned about the effect of relaxers. We learned about acceptance of hairstyles. We learned about the concept of rules being a training. We got the concept of your appearance should not define your personality. So any of those points will work. Okay? Good. Any question about that before we move on? So we dealt with 2A, 2B. Sorry, I'm moving a lot around. Okay, everybody good now? 2A, 2B?
Yes.
All right, let's go to 2C. Just a minute, huh? Good. So 2C. Now 2C says identify 3 features of the group to which the presentation would be made. So all this asking, this is a question a lot of students have difficulty in. All it is asking you is this. Who will be the types of people who will want to learn about this topic? So this topic is about hairstyles, is about rules about hairstyles, etc. Now, all you need to do is identify 3 features. So basically, who are the types of people that will be interested in listening to a presentation on this? So, 2C. Who could tell me who will be the kinds of people who will want to listen to this?
Hairdressers.
That is correct. So we have that is true because they will be right. We also have women with natural or curly hair that will affect them. A lawyer. Vashti, why would a lawyer be interested in this?
A lawyer might be interested in this because if this presents itself with a legal situation, especially in the article with the principal and the students concerning their hair.
Yes.
An attorney can take up that case if the students are being discriminated just
Right.
because of their hair.
So a lawyer who wants to protect the right of people to express themselves. That is another person who will be interested in this. People who want to change their hair, very good, right? But it won't be people, but more or less girls more in particular. So women who are considering treating their hair or changing their hairstyle. Very good. So these are the type of people. Oh, very good. I like that one. Here. People who have been forced to relax or treat their hair in order to look more professional. Very good. And all you have to do for 2C, the first part, is identify any 3 of these. Very good. And notice I like these answers because this is the kind of answers we do not get in the exam and we just look for them. No, I want to point you to the last 3. Notice how Darian and Kayla, I hope you are pronouncing your name correctly, and the woman, somebody about the woman who was considering changing the hair, right? Look at that. Notice how clear the answer is. So you can't just say students. If you say students, you're going to get it wrong. But which students? Students at education institution unsatisfied with rules forbidding them from having hairstyles expressing themselves. That is a perfect answer. That is a perfect answer. People who are forced to relax their hair. Same thing here, lawyer. You can't just put lawyer. A lawyer who wants to protect rights of people. You can't just put woman. Women with natural or curly hair. Women who are considering changing their hairstyle. So any of these 3, you're going to get your 3 marks there. All right? We good? Any question before we continue?
These texts repeat?
Nope. Every year is a different one we said.
Okay.
Because every text was repeated, you know the answer. So every year, 3 different texts on a different theme will be presented. So we got on skin bleaching at time. We got on breaking school. We got on
tattoo and again tattoo.
I have no idea. I really can't remember. This is
Oh no,
embarrassing to say.
skin, something
Yeah,
with bleaching.
bleaching. Yeah. So you see, every year is a different one. So this is why we are not focusing on the text. We are focusing on how to answer the question. So no matter what is brought in front of you, you are able to deal with this. So we dealt with the first part of 2C. Let's go with the other part. So we have here, identify 3 features of the group to which the presentation would be made. Of course, we are looking at what types of persons will be interested in listening to the theme and the topic. Then the other part of 2C says to give 3 techniques that you would use to keep the group interested in a presentation. So if you're doing a presentation, what will be 3 things that you would do to keep the people interested? Now, there are many, many answers for this. Now, one is allowing feedback. So you have what you call an open mic, right? So you allow the audience to participate and talk to you. Rhetorical questions will not work, Kiri, because that is a strategy for presentation, not for keeping people interested. Remember that, eh? You want to keep them interested. So what you're going to do now, put things that the audience likely on. What you mean by that? Vasudev, props will work. Props do work. And you can even put drama. Props and drama about the topic, eh? Make sure and be very specific. Here jokes will not really cut it, because remember, jokes can be, is very general. We want specific answers. So what's happening? So we have use of technological devices, encourage question and answer, audiovisual aids, so have a PowerPoint. Right. Other one is have persons speak about experiences. Very good. Leon, making products for men and women, is that really going to keep them interested? Kiara, games, nah, not games, because that is actually very general. So invite specialists to speak about the crowd about the topic, and having persons speak about their experiences. Those will work. That's another one. Having relevant music video documentary, so you can show them a documentary or a video about people who went through the issue of having to struggle with the acceptance of their hairstyle. A handout, so they could take that home and actually follow along. So remember, with a handout, you could say that they could actually follow and see visual aids in that while you're speaking. Okay? So you notice that some of you are giving me answers that could be added. So like Anissa's answer could be added. Leon, that products thing mightn't really cut it. Because the issue is not products, you know. The issue is about attitude to hear. Right? But here what? We could fix Leon answer and say, distribute products which are safe to use on here. That will be our answer, because that is actually related to the point. Okay? Anybody want to throw out another thing to keep people interested? Okay, so we have here your open microphone, question and answer, use of technology, audio visual aids. We have handouts, background music, relevant videos and documentary. Well, now first thing, if you don't relate it to a recent issue, you would never catch people's attention because you're off topic. Movies, the Maya will fall under relevant videos and documentaries. Well done. And if you're saying something that make your presentation relatable, but that is the purpose. Good. Use of dialect in the presentation to create that appeal. That will work. So you see how much answers we could get? statistical data showing how society's attitude to hair impacts women with naturally curly hair. Yeah, that could work. That could work. And I like how you are making sure and relating it to the theme. If you're not relating to the topic, well, you're going to find yourself in trouble. Okay, that brings us to the end of question 2C. We're on the last stretch now, people. Ask them to share their stories. Ask who, Janelle? The group. Their stories about what then, Janelle?
Asking them to share the stories on incidents that happen where people won't like the hair and stuff like that. So that everybody could relate to certain topics on what other people are saying to grow engagement in the group.
Well, you are correct, Janelle. And Janelle, you have to say it like that.
Sorry, so typing is not really my thing.
You need to say it like that. Because when you tell them share their stories, that won't give a mark. But when you say it like that, no, you're going to get a mark for that because that's correct. Because when they share their stories about their experiences in being accepted or rejected because of their appearance, that will keep people interested. Well done. So, any other questions about question 2C? All right then. Last question. Question 3 is to create a response based on the issues listed in 1A, which is really what is the issue or theme. So our issue or theme is about hairstyles being accepted, being rejected, about rules, about the link with hairstyles and rules, etc. You could use any of these things: a poem, a song, a drama, a speech, a persuasive essay, a monologue. So if you go, let's go to the question paper itself now. What has happened is, question 3, right. Create a response based on one of the points listed in 2B above. You can use drama, poetry, lyrics, a song, or prose. Your response will be assessed for relevance of content, organization of ideas, effective use of language, vivid word choice, and unique voice and style. Let me break that down for you. All that telling you to do is this. Content and relevance mean that you have to be about the topic. If our topic is about hairstyles, you can't be talking about the environment. Organization. So you must have paragraphs or stanzas, introductions or conclusions, acts and scenes if you're using a drama. Effective use of language, you must have literary devices or description or persuasive strategy. So what do I mean by voice and style? You cannot copy from the text. You cannot go and just pull out sentences from any text and stick it together and say, hey, take that. You have to have original work. And lastly, your word choice, your vocabulary. You must use vocabulary which is a bit advanced and relevant. Now, good question, Kiara. There is no word limit. There is no word limit. But let me give you a little hint as someone on the examining committee. The easiest way to get marks is to write a poem. It is statistically proven that the vast majority of students who score over 10 marks, 10 to 15, well, there's 15 marks, between 10 and 15 are those who write a poem. Now, why is a poem so easy? What's happening, right? A poem, once it is about the topic, you get any mark for number 1. Once you have your stanzas, you're going to get a mark for 2. Once you have literary devices, you're going to get a marks for 3. Once you don't copy nothing from the text, you're going to get a marks for 4. And once you use word choice that is related to the topic and is a little advanced, you're going to get a mark for 5. So I would strongly suggest to use candidates to use a poem. Your poem should be minimum 1 page long. So you have something substantial for the markers to read. And once you have stanzas and once you have literary devices, similarly metaphor, repetition, etc., I will not tell you a number of stanzas. I will tell you a page length. A page. If you write 4 stanzas on a page, okay then. But if you could, somebody could write 5 or 10 stanzas on a page. So your length should be about a page minimum. I would expect ideally a page and a half for a poem or a song. You could write a poem or a song, since poems and songs are rather close together, and just put a chorus in it. So an easy way to score well in here is a poem or a song. And as to be honest, sometimes we see poems that in class as a teacher I will never give that 15. But because the mark scheme has this here, what I'm showing you, I have to give 15 because there is nothing in the mark scheme to take away marks for. They actually had all the criteria. So in class, I would have never get more than 12 or 10. But because the mark scheme is like this, and because it's so easy to score in a poem with a stanza, literary device, etc., it's easy to get the marks there. So my hint to you is practice writing poems based on the themes, right? So, and you should be good to go. You will not have any issue. Check the past papers, do the past papers, and you will not have any other issues as well. And that brings us to the end of tonight's workshop. So, if you go on the Facebook page I have, you will see this video being posted, and I will also try to post the little notes we made here. This Word document, I'll try to post it up as well. In addition to that, you could go on YouTube and you'll get the recording of this session as well. Okay? Once you do that, that should have you, set for the exam there, and as a terms of revision. If you also go on the Facebook page, there is a link with some past papers. Some of them are paper 3, so you could do that as well. All right. So that brings us therefore to the end. I am again posting the feedback form, so if you could please fill that out to know how we could improve these sessions for the students, because this is really for your benefit, since we know that there's a lot that we there's a lot of people that they don't teach this paper because it's not really done by many schools. It's very private candidates. So any questions before we close off?
No, sir.
I have a question.
Okay, all right, just now, Anissa. Naika, regarding if it is a drama, it will be marked on the organization in terms of acts and scenes. It will also be marked on the quality of the dialogue, right? And that is where you'll get your language mark. Okay? So that is how we would really mark it according to the mark scheme that is shown. So it would not really have to follow Freytag's curve. That's not because remember, students who are writing paper 032 are not necessarily English B students only. They are English A and English B. So once you are doing English A and English or English B, it is the same paper 3 you're doing. Of course, English A, B students have a little advantage, especially in the question 3. All right. Right. So yes, somebody else was asking. Anisha, you asking a question?
Yes, sir. You said on your Facebook page that there would be some past exams, I think.
Yeah.
Is there any way that if we attempt them, we can't get any feedback from you?
Absolutely not. I have no time to do that. I have given you the
Okay, sir.
tools right now. It's up to you to go for it. All right. So you could more than do this on your own, and I'm judging the answers I am getting today. I am actually I have no doubt that you will do well because to be honest, I have received some answers today that we wish we could get to the exam, especially for the part about the people who will be interested in and so on. Does the format of the questions change? The only question that has changed in format was 2A. So 2A will either be the points on an oral presentation or the difference between an oral presentation and a written one. Besides that, generally, we do not have a change.
So
Uh-huh.
the oral presentation and the written presentation have to be from the text, or we could do it like
no. That question is based on general knowledge. That has nothing to do with the text.
right. Okay, that I want to know.
Yeah.
That's a number. A next one too.
Yes,
That's a
that is
number.
correct. 2A and 2C is not related directly to the
Right.
text, but 2B is.
And what about the technique?
The
factors.
The
The factors.
Which
Like
factor are you
eye
talking about?
contact, body language. That have to be on with.
No, that's a general one. That's I said 2A
Right. Because yeah, all right.
and 2C. Regarding an argument, I'm not telling you not to write it, Daria. Right? I'm not telling you not to write an argument. I'm just telling you what you could do to get a very high mark easily. If I was a student and I knew how to get a high mark with less work, I'd take it.
Exactly, I'm writing down everything. Yes.
Like for example, you see how you students write in January exams? When I was in secondary school, my parents asked me if I want to do that. I said, I am not writing CXE twice. One time alone. You will have more ambition than me when I was in secondary school. So if you write an argument, so if you do an argument, Arian, just remember, it will have to be just like for the English A. You'll have to have an introduction. You'll have to have definitions if needed, a thesis statement. Your body must have a topic sentence plus persuasive strategies, examples, statistics, anecdotes, rhetorical questions, and a conclusion. If you're strong in argumentative writing, Darian, by all means go ahead. If you feel that you mightn't really score 15 with that, stick with the poem. Right? So you can do that. And for the question for the person who's talking about the play or the drama, again, make sure with your drama you have acts and scenes, you have stage directions, you have the part that the what you call this, the narrator says, and make sure that your dialogue is interesting, and make sure you put your literary devices in your dialogue, because that is where you're going to get your marks for dialogue there. Your dialogue of the characters will be where you're getting your marks for the organization and the language and the vocabulary. Okay?
I think the poem is the easiest of all the topics on it.
Well, I would agree with you, and the fact is that from what I see
you
in the
can make
exam,
up anything. You don't have to be.
no, you're not making up anything. And make sure that's relevant to the.
I know for the team.
Right, but here's
so
what.
Like if we was doing this exam came right without we practicing, and it come with here. We had to do a poem with here.
Right. Yes, that is true.
Right. And then we do if it's a simile, if it's a metaphor,
Very
we have
good.
to put all of them stuff inside it to gain the
Very
mark.
good. And I want to point out
Yes.
something that Nadia is bringing up. So Nadia is checking and making sure what to put. I have unfortunately seen some students, they start off nice with a poem and I say, okay, good. It's going to score well. And then they don't put in literary devices. They don't put in any advanced vocabulary. In fact, some people just write in a way you can't even decipher if what type of stanzas you have. And that's a problem. So be very careful with that. And again, here's a nice thing to do. Online, there are so many poems. Take a read of some poetry. See how what people are doing. And ask yourself, hey, I could do something like that. And also practice with the past papers and you're good to go. Any other question?
No, sir, I think we're good.
Okay, then. So, again, students, all the best in your exams. When is paper 3 again?
Wednesday.
Okay, right. So, all the best in your exams on Wednesday. You could go on the Facebook page and get the notes. You could get this video on YouTube by hopefully tonight. And you should be good to go. Again, don't worry. Whatever you learn today, you're going to apply it. You have enough time to do that. Also, the quality of the answers that you are giving me today is good stuff, even without being taught. So you don't have to worry about things. So I do look forward to seeing your scripts when we start marking. I do hope that the very, very high scoring ones are students that attended. Today, of course, I can't see a name. I only see a number. But, by looking at the quality of the answers, I think I could figure out who was paying attention today. So all the best on Wednesday. All the best in the rest of your CSEC exams. And for those of you who are writing, are we allowed to make up quotations from reliable sources for our speech? Yes. You can make up a quotation because it is a kind of fictional thing. Just make sure your quotation is not really weird, like saying something such as, the cause of crime in Trinidad and Tobago is males. I mean, that's just a weird stuff to say. So you can make it up, just make sure it's believable. All right? And also, Visudev, I would suggest you take a look at your newspapers and things as well, because they do give nice little examples you could actually put that the markers could actually probably even realize is a actual situation. Okay? So again, everybody, all the best on Wednesday. Take care of yourselves. Stay home. Stay safe as much as you can. Make sure and continue following the necessary protocols in the exam room. And also, those of you who are writing in exams in June, May again, all the best in those exams as well. And I do hope that when I see your scripts in this setting and also the next setting, I will be able to see some very good scores. The page is Trinbago English class. I'll just put it up there again. So you will get the work on there. There's also some videos on doing the SBA. So I know some of you are students in secondary school doing the SBA. So you can look at those videos as well, that series, and fix up your SBA before we get it. Okay. For the YouTube is just look for my name, Hassan Basar Ali. All right. Okay. Anything else before we close? All right. So people, all the best. Go and have some rest and get at the paper 3 from tomorrow. All right. Take care.
Good night, sir.
All right. Good night.
Good night, sir.